Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today we will be interviewing Lucas Minton, Deputy Grand Master of Arkansas.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have three-quarters of our usual hosts, Very Worshipful Brother David Colbeth, who's a member of King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn, Washington, and Very Worshipful Brother Stephen Chung from Prince Charles number 153 in Kelowna, British Columbia. I'm Matt Appel, a member of Mill Creek 243 here in lovely Mount Lake Terrace, Washington. And we are honored to have with us Right Worshipful Brother Lucas Minton, who's the Deputy Grand Master of Arkansas. Right Worshipful Sir, thank you very much for coming on the show this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation. I don't know if you should be honored, though. You should probably get condolences or something.
That's usually my line when someone tells me, "Oh, I listened to the podcast." Is, "Oh, I'm sorry." Usually, as I said earlier, before we started recording, our first question traditionally is sort of, how did you become to be a Mason? How did you get to be where you are in Masonry?
I am very uninteresting. So I'm kind of that monkey see, monkey do guy. So my dad, granddad, and great-grandfather were Masons, as well as my uncle and my great-uncle. So as a kid, I went up to the lodge that is now also my lodge. Mom was an Eastern Star when I was little. And so I would go up there when they didn't have me a babysitter or whatever. And I remember distinctly there was a couple, they didn't have any kids of their own, Horace and Doris Grant, and they were like grandparents to my parents. And I remember I sat outside. I didn't know at the time Horace was Tyler. And I asked him, I said, "Why do you have to sit outside with me?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm too mean to go inside. They don't let me inside." And that stuck with me my whole life. I said it to Dad. I was like, "Horace said y'all didn't let him in." He's like, No, we do not let him in. He's like, "Especially with you there." And of course, that didn't mean anything to me at the time. I was like, "Oh, yeah, now I get it." But yeah, it was. But so anyway, so I would go up there with Dad and my grandfather and uncle when he was active too, and not a lot. But anyway, I'd kind of sit out there in the kitchen and try and keep myself busy. And anyway, I was a teenager, and I asked my dad about it again. I said, "Hey, how does one become Mason?" He goes, "Oh, you just got to ask when you're old enough." And when I decided I want to do it, I was still a teenager, but we couldn't join until we were 21. So I turned 21 in 2002, July, and by I want to say August, I had maybe September, I had a petition, and then I got my entered apprentice in November of 2002. Got my Fellcraft Volume month in December, and turned it in at the end of the month. So I didn't make it exactly the time frame, but on the 1st of February of 2003, I became a Master Mason. Those three meetings were extraordinarily special to me, because those were the only 3 meetings I ever sat in lodge with my grandfather. He died that May. Haven't seen me become a master. I've got one picture from the night I was raised, and me and him and my dad are all standing at the altar with our aprons on.
Wow, that's special. That's incredible. What a story.
That sounds like a great story to me. Yeah.
Do you have Lewis Jewels in Arkansas?
We do. I when we got them, it was let me think here. What year was that? I want to say we got them 2019 or 2020. We actually had our own Lewis jewel made, and I just lollygagged and I didn't get a jewel made. And then by the time I was like, okay, I need to get this done, I'd already got the grand line, and we wear our little name tag on our pocket over here. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to wear one. So this last year for my dad's birthday, was it birthday or Father's Day? Might have been Father's Day. I got him a Lewis jewel, and I included myself on there, and then I put his dad and his grandfather on there. So he's got the four 4 bars, and most works for Grand Lodge of Arkansas. So anyway, but yeah, it is a pretty neat deal. I got that, and I showed it to my mom before I gave it to him, and she's like, "That's really pretty." She's like, "I don't know what that means."
I was just going to ask.
And I was like, "Well, I said, it's what we do for multiple generations." And she's like, and she got to look at it. She goes, "Oh," she said, "I should have figured that out when I saw the names on there." She goes, "I just wasn't thinking." Because like I said, she got the background. She knew what was going on. She's like, "I just wasn't thinking." But anyway, she was very impressed. I don't know where he's got it right now, but I expect when he comes to Grand Lodge next year, he'll be wearing it.
Nice. Yeah.
So
I was going to ask for our listeners if you could describe kind of what a Lewis jewel looks like, a little bit of what it is.
So for the folks who've never seen one, it's so the Lewis, an actual Lewis, is used to raise a stone, and so it'll be hollowed out in the middle. The stone will be hollowed out in the middle, and then they'll put the Lewis in, and it'll have like 2 wedges on this way, and then they hammer in the middle piece wedge, I guess you call it, and it pushes the other 2 out in the cavity. They pin it, and then they lift it, and that's how they get the stone into place. So the thought is a Lewis jewel is to raise that next stone, that next generation. And so in Arkansas, ours it's got the Lewis on top, and around it it's got the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Arkansas. I'm trying to think if I've got a picture of it. I can send y'all. But anyway, it's got the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Arkansas, and then it comes with 2 bars. The way Arkansas does it is it's got the father and son bars. If you want extras, you buy the ones after that.
Sure.
Some of them I know some places you'll go, they just give you the 1 bar for the father. And we're pretty. It's funny because some jurisdictions are very, very particular about certain things. Like Texas is particular about aprons. Arkansas, we're just like, just wear the correct apron in the correct way, and everybody's happy. Some places are very particular about, the bars that can be on Lewis jewel. Arkansas is like, just wear one that says Arkansas, and we'll be happy. So we're kind of easy going on certain things, and we're extremely hard nosed on other things. It's kind of weird how that works between jurisdictions. But ours, like I said, ours comes with 2, just for the reason that a lot of folks figure they'll want to put the father on there. And the only thing I would say that we've been hard nosed about is there has been some friction about, well, I want to get a Lewis jewel because my grandfather was a Mason, and they're like, well, your dad wasn't one. It's like, my grandfather was, and maybe like I never met my dad, or my dad wasn't a Mason, and that's my maternal side is where my Masonry comes from, and so there's been some of this on whether or not. And at the end of the day, I've kind of been of that mindset of, it's still family. I mean, especially you've got a lot of folks that are raised by their grandparents, just because of one thing or another. It's like, I don't know if that's, of all the fights to fight, I don't know if that's a good one to fight.
Right.
We've actually got some real problems to worry about in this world. I don't know about whether a father or grandfather is suitable only for a Lewis jewel. I don't know if that's a fight to really push on. And I will say this, I've been known to be cheap from time to time. And I don't remember if it was like Fratline or LAFSCO or somebody. I saw they had a Lewis jewel. I was like, oh, that's a lot cheaper than ours. And I was thinking about getting it until I actually saw one of ours. I was like, oh, ours actually says Arkansas. We're not just overcharging for something. Okay, well, I'll do that. So I went on, I bought the Arkansas one for that reason.
So how many years did it take you from the time you were raised to become the master of your lodge?
Oh man, that's kind of an interesting story in and of itself. So, when I was like, it was 9 years, and a lot of folks, they throw them in the South just as quick as they can and get them to the East. And I'll tell you, I wanted to go to the East. I wanted to get my name enrolled among those workmen, if you will. I wanted to be a master because my dad was a master, my grandfather was a master, my uncle, my great uncle were masters. My great grandfather was treasurer for like 20 or 25 years. He was never master, never had desire. Never met him, but I was told he was very much a business guy. And so they wanted him to stay in the treasurer's seat, and so that's where he stayed. But anyway, we had a little bit of I guess you call it friction at our lodge for a number of years, and there were some guys, because I had this legacy. They're like, Matt doesn't need to go in there. That family been running this thing for 100 years. I was like, well, let me tell you something. First of all, my grandfather, and me don't equal 100 years together. And he got blackballed 3 times before my great-grandfather got in. And you know why? They said he cussed too much. And I was like, "Oh, how the mighty have fallen." But no, that's what I was told. That's what my dad told me years ago. Was he that third time they told him he just cussed too much, so I had to clean up his act a little bit. And I was like, "Well, he's a dairy farmer, and he was on the REA board, Rural Electrification Arkansas." And so when you're trying to run thousands of miles of poles across a rural state, and this part, central part of the state, I mean, that'll probably make anybody cuss a little bit too. So, anyway, but that was the thing. He got blackballed 3 times. So I was like, none of us are taking anything for granted. But anyway, I was we don't have stewards in Arkansas really. We have the masters of ceremonies, and so I was master of ceremonies 3 times, I believe. I was chaplain, and then I didn't do anything for a while before I finally got in line. And
so they have you as master of ceremonies before becoming a worshipful master?
They'll have you as master of ceremonies before you become a junior deacon.
Oh, wow. Okay. See, so, that's in our lodge up here. That's kind of reserved for that's the job that the immediate past master goes to after.
Oh,
because they want a guy who's kind of like been there, done that, and should know how everything's supposed to be done to be in that role, right? Because in our area, the master of ceremonies or director of ceremonies is the one who would lead the lodge in balloting and receiving the Grand Master or the district deputy Grand Master and so on, right? So yeah, that guy up here, he's got to know his stuff, right?
So ours is ours is the senior deacon that receives all the visitors, and maybe a marshal if your lodge has actually has a marshal. Not all lodges, not required. Like I said, our masters of ceremonies, their primary job is they'll either help the junior warden with the refreshment duties, and or they're helping with the degree work, because we'll have those guys they're the ones who go to the preparation room.
Okay. So yeah, that's stewards for us.
Right. And so we, like I said, we do it, or we name it different, I should say. Yeah. And so those guys, we have the junior and the senior, probably like you guys do. And the senior has the talking part. And so anyway, but they kind of moved me around there. And then when I was junior warden, the friction part of the lodge, we had our guy who was supposed to be going into the east. He'd been senior warden. He was supposed to go to the east in 2012, but he ended up moving. And so the friction part of the lodge, those guys, they're like, well, everybody just needs to move up 2 chairs instead of 1. And I didn't really have a desire to move up 2 chairs. So what we ended up doing was they ended up running somebody against all of us, and they were trying to. I didn't run against the guy in front of me, and so on and so forth. And we just essentially we left that hole, and everybody rotated up 1 chair, and then we kept the same master. Well, then they ran one of their guys against me to knock me out of the chairs. That was my first real taste of lodge politics when I was in a chair. So that was kind of different.
So, were they successful, or did you hold yours?
No, I held it.
Excellent. Yeah.
I held it. But it was funny because I knew what was going on, and afterwards I got talking to our secretary, he's known me my entire life. I mean, helped raise my dad, in the lodge and everything. Been secretary for 40 years. I took over secretary from him. we get done. He's like, dang it, Minton, you just gonna be out of luck if you got knocked out of that chair. I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, I wasn't really thinking that through. And I was like, yeah. So, but like I said, that was really my first taste of election politics. Ugly taste. I had a taste before. They ran some other guys against me, because we actually in our lodge will elect the junior deacon. You can appoint them by the code, but we elect them. That way, everybody kind of gets a say in who they think knows the work and all that. And it was me and another guy, and I had 2 years where I got defeated for guys who were older than me that didn't know the work. And you talk about going home. I won't say humbled, because I was not humbled. I was mad. I'm not going to paint.
How many members in your lodge? Because you usually have to have a lot of members in a lodge before you start seeing the election politics going on and having enough guys to run.
I'd say back then, I mean, we probably had 60 to 70. We had a pretty active. We still have a pretty active lodge, but we're down to about 50 something now. But it was. But we just had some guys, and they just wanted to run everything. There was another lodge, and they all dueled in over there, and they ran it right into the ground. And it kicked on a couple more years after they kind of pushed those guys out of the way. But that lodge ended up merging with us. I hated it, but it's just, part of it eventually happens.
And did you get the pleasure of initiating passing and raising during your term?
Not during my term. I did not. I didn't. So I did initiating and passing. I'm trying to think here. I did some of that while I was in the chairs, but I didn't do it at my own lodge. Our secretary I was just talking about at the time, we now call him our board of lecturers, but we used to call it the board of custodians, and he was a former assistant custodian. And so, I mean, he's got the work cold. And so most all of us just have deferred to him over the years. And he started a couple of years ago. He's like, Minton, you got to start doing this work. You're going to have to do it, or no one's going to do it. You got to start doing it. And I was like, no, I'm fine doing it. I've conferred more EAs and quite a few fellowcrafts, but only 2 or 3 masters. And I did the masters on a real good friend of mine. He was in my wedding up in actually Washington Lodge number 1, which is up in Fayetteville. That's where University of Arkansas is. I went up there, and they had me put the degrees on him up there. I did all 3 of his. But now talking about working in a degree, that one, and then 2 of my best friends, I put the EA and the fellowcraft on. The next lodge over town-wise at BB Lodge, I put the 2 degrees on him, and that was while I was in the chairs. I put those on him because I call him my oldest friend, because we rode the bus together. I was in 1st grade and he was in kindergarten. And anyway, me and him, we kick around. We're in Scottish Rite together, and he goes. He's not gonna be able to go this year, but he's went to Guthrie with me and everything. But anyway, put 2 of the 3 degrees on him, and I let Ray, the secretary guy, let him do the master's degree. You got to have an extra little bit of confidence to go on and do that. And I want to make sure he got a good one. I just didn't have the confidence at that time. But anyway, and then one of my friends from junior high forward, he lives in Florida. He got his EA fellowcraft down there, and they only do degrees in a class. So, and in Arkansas, we only do them 1 at a time. And so they're like, we don't know when you're going to get a master's degree. And
do you guys do the what we refer to as the ancient work, where you have the full out drama for okay, all right.
Yes, we do the full on drama for the 2nd section.
Is there only one type of ritual work done in Arkansas, or multiple?
Well, there's supposed to be one. It just depends how good the members are. I'll tell you an interesting thing. what year would that have been? About 1948, 1950, our fellowcraft, I should say the fellowcraft degree, all our degrees changed a little bit. And it was because we had, we'd been using the monitor that was written by Most Worshipful George Thornburg. And he had died a number of years earlier, and we had continued to use that. And the Grand Lodge of Arkansas, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, because that's long before my time, they said, we're just not going to use that anymore. We're going to write our own, and we're not going to pay any royalties anymore to his family. And so they changed all the degrees slightly and the books slightly. And one of the things that really changed, though, was the fellowcraft degree. The fellowcraft degree used to be longer in Arkansas. And we had an expanded part about music in there. But we've been trying, in the part, we call it the fallen soldier, and we've been trying to get a group of guys back together to start to exemplify the older work. Have not got that put together quite yet, but we've been working on it. But what's interesting is I've got a Thornburg monitor. I borrowed it from Ray, my old secretary, and I keep forgetting to take it back to him. That's been years ago. But one day I come home and I find a package has been put in my mailbox, and I look at that, and it says Brother Lucas Minton, and it's from Tacoma, Washington, right? Worshipful Brother Nelson. And so he had sent me, he'd found a Thornburg monitor at some point, and Roger had sent me that Thornburg monitor. And as soon as I opened it, saw what it was, I texted him, I was like, where did you find this? He's like, I had that for years. He said, I thought it'd probably be better for it to go home, someone who could really appreciate it. So it just tickled me to death. Just tickled me to death. He's such a great guy. You are so lucky to have him.
Very, very true. Very true. So in the blue room, we were talking a little bit about your actual first name is not Lucas.
Right. My first name's Terry, and my dad's name's Terry. And so my whole life I've went by my middle name. My mom said if she could, my sister does that too. She's Stephanie Lauren. My mom said, of all the mistakes I made rearing children, those were my two biggest, because she said that's been nothing but confusion and heartache the whole time. So yeah.
And so you alluded that there was some numerology in that, the T in the front or whatever.
Right. So the first part of the story, like I said, so I'm in finance, and my broker dealer this was about 2012, 2013 was LPL, and I'd turn in all my paperwork and assign Lucas Minton, and they rejected, and they called, and they're like, we can't take this. So why not? Because this isn't your first name. It's like, it's how I sign everything. Well, we're not going to take it. I said, okay. I was like, so do I have to write out Terry? They're like, well, you have to write out something, essentially. So I started signing everything T. Lucas Minton. And it's like, this is just so stupid. Well, anyway, a couple years back, I'd been up in Fayetteville, where I was talking about, that's where my in-laws live. And I had picked up a copy of a book by Richard Cavendish called The Black Arts, I think is what it was called. But anyway, it was kind of a tour de force, but it's a mile wide, inch deep kind of deal of a whole bunch of different esoteric topics, and one of them was numerology. And so I'm sitting here, and I get to I'm reading through it while I'm at my in-laws' house, and I get to this one, and it's the numerology, and I'm sitting here reading it. It's like, well, you can use you can use the Greek, and you can use your English, whatever. And so I'm just sitting here. I've got nothing better to do. I'm just hanging out with my in-laws. The kids are downstairs raising Cain, and I'm trying to stay sane. So anyway, I just kind of start working all this out. I'm like, well, Lucas Minton. And then I was going down to digital roots. I was taking everything down to its digital root. And so Lucas Minton, if I remember right, the digital root was 6, which was like not very inspiring, but very solid. And And I was like, huh. And so then I'm just like, I mess with it some more. It's like Terry, Lucas Minton, and Terry Minton. And I'm just, I've got nothing better to do. Like I said, I'm just going through all this. And then something's like, you don't sign anything that way. Like, you're identified on everything as T. Lucas Minton. So like I go and start working on that, and then it works out to 10 to 1, if I remember right. Or it was like, 6 or 4. Anyway, it ended up at 1. And 1 is, the generative, and it is the force of change and all that. And if you, as Roger would say, what did he say? We were at the Conference of Grand Masters. He said, "I'm a woo-woo Mason. So if I'm going to get all woo-woo on you, then I want to be associated with that 1. I want to be associated with the positive changes in Masonry, while we're talking about Masonry, positive changes in general. But the other piece of that is, if you add in a little extra woo-woo, then and you go zodiacal, then my sun sign's Cancer, and whenever you've got a cardinal, that's also something that's a force, something that's a hard change. And I was like, that all kind of lines up. That all kind of makes sense. So I've stuck with it for that reason.
So your grandfather was a treasurer for 20 years, and you're in finance. Great grandfather was a treasurer for 20 years, and you're in finance. I'm curious to ask about that relationship, but I think that might be a great opening for our next segment. What do you think, Matt?
Sounds great, David.
I don't know. We're getting pretty close.
We can go from the sublime to the ridiculous and go. I was curious about having met a fellow member of the Secretaries Union, although I guess I'm not my lodge secretary anymore, but David is still. And
yeah. Well, you're going to be the secretary here pretty soon. I know we're not supposed to talk about that. I know we're not supposed to talk about that.
So just Lucas, I'm not sure if you and I have met once, and I've seen you on a couple other things, and I guess we met twice. Anyway, point is, I've made myself available to be Grand Secretary next year. So here in June, I may be the Secretary of Secretaries, but there's still hope for nominations from the floor. So
never, not going to happen. Not going to happen.
So yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, so with you guys, because I know each jurisdiction's different, and I know a lot of them have started changing the way that they're doing it. Is y'all's Grand Secretary position, is it ceremonial, or is it also the W-2 job?
No, it's the job. It's one of the 2 paid Masons we have. Yeah, he's
okay. I was thinking it was, but then I was like, maybe I might be thinking of somebody else. So I thought I'd ask for some clarification.
Yeah, we don't have a Grand Treasurer. I forget when it was. Sometime in the 20s, I want to say, they did away with the Grand Treasurer job.
That is so crazy to me.
Well, ask me in a year or two and I'll tell you, but as of right now, I think the same thing, but we'll see.
We've got some behind us now, thankfully, but we've got some financial shenanigans that would have only been worse had we not had a Grand Treasurer.
I think from what I've heard, again, this was in the 20s, so who knows? Not the 2020s, obviously, the 1920s. It was before my time, obviously, but my understanding was that we had the opposite problem, that the treasurer was engaging in shenanigans. And so they said, fine, then we're not going to have a treasurer anymore. And it seems like it's more ripe for, anyway. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
So with that, we can re-engage on such topics here if you're able to hang around for a little bit longer. But thank you very much, Right Worshipful Brother Lucas, for coming on the show. We appreciate having you here.
Glad to have you. Glad to be here. Excuse me.
And on behalf of David and Stephen and the absent Craig, we all and myself, we want to thank you all for listening to the Working Tools podcast. Goodbye.